Hey, all, it's Brent Bruce over at Rancho Capital Home Loans. Wanted to reach out to my real estate agent friends and give you some updates on what's been going on in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, craziness. Everyone knows that. But how is that affecting the home loan world? And I'm going to go over a few items here. I'm going to try to keep this short, but man, there's a lot of information. So here, first of all, interest rates. Interest rates have essentially stabilized in the past, maybe this week. Before that, it was absolutely crazy. We went from the lowest interest rates ever, 2.75, 2.875, up to 4%, 4.5%, and now on a 30-year fix with excellent credit, we're looking in the mid threes, which is outstanding. We need to make sure our buyers understand interest rates are amazing right now. But just because they're not 2.99, you're going to have to get over that a little bit with them, because people now think that a good interest rate is 2.99 because it was for a week. So we're going to have to educate them there. So interest rates have pretty well stabilized, and they're very, very good. So let me know, if you have any questions on the rate specifically. Difficulties. So appraisers, we're having a hard time getting appraisers to go out and appraise properties. Inspectors, repairmen, notaries, all these different people, they're not really too excited about entering people's homes, shaking hands, and spending a half an hour sitting next to them. So it's just slowing things down. We're able to get these things done. I'm sure the lenders you're working with are going to be able to get these things done, but all these things are delays. The banks themselves are very busy. They're overwhelmed. Their people are working from home. Underwriters are working from home. You've got much more scrutiny on loan files, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But basically what it tells you is that things have just slowed down, okay? And they are very volatile. So when it comes to contingency removals, loan contingency removals, I mean, really, like how do you ask for someone to remove their loan contingency removal when banks are changing guidelines daily? You qualified yesterday, you don't qualify today, your loan's canceled. And at no fault of anyone. So loan contingency it just doesn't apply. We have the COVID-19 documents out there that go with RPAs. Pretty much that's just gone. So keep in mind that there's going to be delays. If you can close on time, hey, that's great. But listing and buying agents, just be informing your people, talking to your sellers and buyers, understanding that with what's going on right now, everyone just needs to hang in there and give grace, because there's just too much going on we don't even know what's going to happen next week or what's going to change. So guidelines, I mentioned that a minute ago. Guidelines have changed a lot. So when the government comes out and makes their guidelines, meaning Fannie and Freddie are not the government, but Ginnie Mae, VA, those different entities, they make guidelines, but those are the generic kind of vanilla-based guidelines. The banks can do whatever they want on top of that. It's the bank's money. It's not the government's money. It's not VA, FHA, Fannie, not yet. Okay, so the banks can do whatever they want. That's why you hear of what's called overlays. Some banks will not do a loan unless the FICO score is over 680. Some banks will go down to 500. But recently, all of these guidelines are being tightened up. Okay, so many banks that used to do down to 580, 550, 500 FICO scores are now wanting at least a 640, 660, 680. So guidelines are really getting tightened up with the FICO scores themselves, with credit reporting. When it comes to income, they are reducing debt ratios. So what used to be acceptable at maybe a 48 or a 50 ratio, now they're just putting a hard cap at 40, some banks. So keep that in mind as well. Again, what is this telling us? This is telling us that we need to revisit our pre-approval letters, and we need to make sure that before you take a buyer out and start shopping around with them, do they still qualify? Last night, I had somebody who we took another look at their qualification, and come to find out the loan product they were using is not available anymore. It's just gone. These people are very well qualified, but the product that they were using, the bank has made it to where in order to use that product, they're charging $36,000 in points minimum. So on that specific, scenario. So they basically just moved that product off of the availability list by pricing it out of the market. This is happening all over the place. So we need to make sure that you go back and you sit with, if you're working with buyers, that you review the pre-approval letter and make sure that it is still current. If you're working with sellers, be very careful on having a somewhat of an understanding of what is the qualification, what is the probability, let's put it this way, what is the probability that the bank is going to fund this transaction? And it's just, you have to just look at it a little differently than you used to. It's not just what's your FICO, what's your debt ratio. You got to be a little bit more careful with that, a little bit more strategic to try to make sure that you open escrow with somebody who's going to be able to close. So just a little bit of information that's going on. Please let me know if you have any specific questions. Last thing is, when you hear about forbearance, that's definitely the word of the day that's out there in the world. Okay, so CNBC, CNN, ABC, everybody's saying, hey, forbearance, forbearance, forbearance. You guys don't have to make your mortgage payments anymore. And I'm sure that your clients are calling you as their real estate professionals and saying, hey, what's going on with this forbearance thing? Okay, first of all, forbearance does not mean forgiveness. Okay, so make this simple. If somebody gets a 3-month forbearance agreement, so they don't have to make their April, May, and June payment. Normally, the way a forbearance works is they miss their April, they miss their May, they miss their June. Let's say that their mortgage payment is $2,000. $2,000, $2,000, $2,000. July 1st comes. They get their bill in the mail. It's $8,000. And they need to pay that money right then. $8,000 due right then. Okay, so it is not forgiven. Usually, that's normally how a forbearance works. And guess what? If they don't have that money because they spent it, surprise, surprise, they're delinquent. Now they're delinquent. They're 30 days. They're 60 days. They're 90 days. They're going into default. They're going into foreclosure. And guess what? Now their credit is shot. They can't refinance anymore. And why? Because I didn't know. That's what they're going to say. I didn't understand. I didn't know. We heard this back in 05, 06, 07, 08. I didn't know that my loan was going to adjust. Okay, well, they need to read the forbearance agreements. First of all, they have to have a forbearance agreement. And the only way you're going to do that is getting it from your servicer. Okay, so that is the people who send out the mortgage payments. They need to go online to the website of their servicer and begin the process of getting a forbearance agreement. Then they need to read it in detail and fully understand what is in that document. Are they going to put the payments on the end of the loan? Are they going to forgive them completely? Maybe. I mean, I haven't seen that, but maybe. But there's a very good chance that 4 months down the line, they're going to get a bill for 6, 8, 10, 12, who knows how many thousands of dollars, and it is due right then. Okay, I don't know. They need to look into it, but I do know that to just tell people, guess what, you don't have to make your payments anymore because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac said so, they're not the servicers. They do not make that decision. They can ask the servicers to do it. They can try to help them. They may own the mortgage, which means it's going to be easier, but the servicer is the one who needs to make that agreement. So make sure that you understand that, like all things, if it sounds too good to be true, it may be. They just need to look very closely at the document. So you can be a professional for them. You can be an advisor for them by telling them, hey, great, go to your servicer's website, complete the forbearance or work out forgiveness or whatever it is that they have available. But when you get those documents, understand, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you need to read it in great detail, and fully understand what is happening to this money that you're not paying, because usually it doesn't just disappear. So when are you going to have to pay the piper? That's what I would be looking very, very closely for. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to keep you posted. If there's any topics specifically that you want to hear about, please let me know. Shoot me an email. My email address is Brent, BRENT, at myranchocapital.com. Send me an email. I'll be happy to help you out. Have a great day. Stay safe.